I'm Peggy Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, spotlighting the New Orleans area's arts and entertainment scene. Seated at our table tonight, WWL-TV film critic Alfred Richard. Hi, Alfred.
Hello
updating
there.
us on local TV and movie production, of which there is a lot going on, isn't there?
Thankfully, is back.
I was so glad to see you. Helen Freund, it's been a while, food writer for Gambit Weekly. Hello.
Hi.
And Emmy Award-winning photographer and journalist Del Hall, the one and only. Hello, Mr. Del Hall.
Hello.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
And Steppin Out theater critic Smason of theatercriticism.com. But first up, Helen, so much news. And it's funny because the summer's usually not much is going on, but it's a lot of movement.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement. I think for diners, we kind of forget that it gives chefs a chance to kind of step back and start planning their next moves. So lots of new restaurants opening, I think 24, throughout the end of the summer.
Mon Dieu.
Yeah. Two ones that I'm particularly excited about, which is Todd Pulcinelli's. He's the executive chef at August. He's been there for a long time. He is now going to be opening up his own restaurant. The restaurant group is coming with him, or they're helping him. They're partnering with him on it, and it's called Warbucks. That's opening up on
As in Daddy?
Yeah, actually, it's the chef. It's his hip hop persona. So he also is a.
And that was where Amici was.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we're expecting that sort of mid to late summer, maybe early fall. But that should be really interesting. And then there's also Chef Alex Harrell, who was the opening chef at Sylvain, as we all know, and then went on to have Angeline in the Quarter, which just closed. He is now moving to the Franklin spot and opening up a restaurant there. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's open for the time being, and they'll be in transition.
They're in
and then he'll open
transition,
up.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And it's going to be a new concept, so who knows what Alex will bring, but I'm sure it'll be great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Mid-City, Melt closed.
Closed. There's a new Mexican place coming in there. Mexican restaurants, it's funny, the last couple of years, we've seen just more and more open up across the city. This new place that's opening, Zocalo, it's on Metairie Road. It's from the folks that do Brasa, which is the South American steakhouse nearby. So this is going to be kind of a different type of Mexican restaurant. This is more like new sort of regional Mexican cuisine. So the chefs there, they traveled a lot to Oaxaca and to Mexico City to get inspiration. So we can kind of expect, I think for New Orleans diners, it's going to be something very new. So no Tex-Mex, no, there'll be some tacos, but not the kind you're expecting.
And then Shake Shack's coming?
We're getting a Shake Shack.
But you got to be traveling to get to it.
You have to get through security
right?
to get to it, unfortunately.
The airport.
But I'd say go early, that way you don't miss your flight, and go hungry.
Now, you wear more than one hat. You write for Gambit, but you also write for The Advocate.
Yes,
but Gambit's offices have now moved in.
We've now moved in completely. We're all in the same office together, so it's nice. Yeah.
Helen, Mid-City, I mean, I always had a lot of different restaurants, but we went to Piece of Meat the other night.
Oh, what did you think?
Oh, I liked it very much. Yeah. And I love the utensils. The lighting fixtures are all old kitchen utensils.
Yeah, they went all over Louisiana to find those. They're like these really, really antique fixtures. It's beautiful.
What are you most excited about in terms of upcoming restaurants? There's so much out there.
Oh, gosh, I mean, I'm really excited about Alex's restaurant, the one that's coming into the Franklin. I think that's going to be great. Also, Tori McPhail and T from Commander's Palace, they're pairing up with the Reginelli's crew, and they're opening up a place where Noodle and Pie used to be on Magazine Street, so I'm really excited about that.
All right, well, good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Glad to hear it. Alfred, I know you've been an extra in movies, but you're going to tell us about movies. So who are you an extra? Which
well,
one
I've been
on
TV. I've been in the movie as well. I've been an extra in NCIS New Orleans. I portrayed a train conductor. I had one line, which unfortunately was cut. Eric Paulson has been riding me on that for some time. Also appearing in other films such as the title is Happy Death Day, but I'm going to go into that in one of the films that matter.
Clue us in.
There's so many. We know a few months ago, we were all talking about the possibility of Hollywood South on the wane. But thankfully, the people in the legislature started working on things with the tax credits. And now, not only are movies and production coming back to New Orleans in this region, but television series are making their mark as well. First up, a film. Let's talk about one of the major films that's just wrapping up. In fact, it'll be wrapping up on the 30th of this month, and that is Troop Zero. And one of the stars of Troop Zero is the beautiful Viola Davis. And very strong work. She's one of not only the star, but also one of the producers in this film as well. Again, wrapping up on June 30th. And another film that just finished on the 27th. It is called now Faux Pas. That is the one that I worked on, and it was a title of
F-O-E-P-A-W.
F-O-E-P-A-W, and it was given the title Happy Death Day 2, No Electric Boogaloo. But this, of course,
you're not making this up, are you?
I am not making it up. That was the actual title, Happy Death Day 2, but they changed it to Faux Pas. Jessica Roth is a star in that one, and it's set, of all things, very similar to a Groundhog Day, except it deals with death. So, again, it may go through another title change before too long.
Let's hope so.
Well, I hope it does, too. Also, a film that is coming out on this weekend, and I am so happy I had a chance to see this one. It is called Won't You Be My Neighbor? And especially in the times that we are dealing with today, the memories of the late Fred Rogers, of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And this film shows not only how kind he was, but he was a genuine person. Even when Eddie Murphy would make jokes about the Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, he never complained. He laughed at it too. Robinson, did you put a cabbage head on that baby's doll? Yes, but it works out. It is showing at the Broad Theater. Times are varying, of course, but the ticket price is really good, $8 to $10 there. The Broad, of course, is at 636 North Broad, and you can find out
another mid-city amenity.
Another mid-city amenity. And I mentioned about television series going on. There are a number of them in here. One that offered the opportunity for others in this area is called Queen Sugar. It has some very powerful people behind it, as Ava DuVernay and Oprah Winfrey as the producers of this series. It is set in Louisiana, in New Orleans. Edgard, Louisiana is also filming in this area. Sometimes they've been filming in uptown New Orleans as well, so you'll see a lot of that there. You also have The Purge. Now, I've been throwing flags at some of the Purge films over the last few years, but the USA Network and Sci-Fi Channel has decided, you know what? Let's make a series about an America in which all crime is legal for 24 hours, for 12 hours during one time every year. So it's back. A family film. No, it's not. Gabrielle Chavarria and Jessica Garza, they are the stars of that one. Lily Rabe is part of a new TNT series that's also filming in this area, Tell Me Your Secrets. And I had the opportunity to be in featured extra in that one.
Jill Clayburgh's daughter, huh?
That's right, that's right. Wow. And so you've got a lot, again, a lot of star power coming through. And you may, if you've seen Reno 911 in the past, you may notice a young lady who's Niecy Nash. Well, she has a series that's now going into season 3 called Claws. And it's set, of all things, as a cross between Breaking Bad and a nail salon. And
yep, it's true.
It really, and it has caught on. It is again on TNT, and it just wrapped up for this season, but they've been renewed. So again, New Orleans, this region is getting a lot of work, and I had the opportunity to be on Claws. I had the opportunity for NCIS New Orleans, even the film called The Highwaymen that is being made. So again, if you want to do something other than just watch movies, you can go to mycastingfile.com and you can be in the movies.
That's a great suggestion. Yeah, all right. Thank you so much. Great to have you back.
All right.
And New Orleans Magazine's quiz queen, Julia Street, has a question for us. Last time, C. Layton's hero, Rollo. Hello, C. Layton. He gave us the names of the Sacred Voodoo Day celebrated on June the 23rd and the body of water that the annual celebration is held on. We're talking about St. John's Eve and Bayou St. John. Now, tonight's question. Name 2 local avenues named after signers of the Declaration of Independence. Note, you cannot use Washington, Carrollton, or Jackson, okay? Email your answers to steppinout@wyes.org. And you can't use Jefferson either. A year subscription, here are our prizes, to Louisiana Life magazine. An apron with the message "Claw in Order." Speaking of claws, from our friends at wearablevegetables.org. Okay, and a pair of free admission passes to either the Audubon Zoo, Aquarium of the Americas, or the Butterfly Garden and Insectarium. You can go to wyes.org for our online calendar to see our lineup of events, including a Bayou Boogaloo concert benefit at Tipitina's. Remember, they had that really bad weather. They lost a full day.
Right.
Also, we've got the Hallelujah Foundation kickoff party too. That's Monday. Check our calendar. You can also link to our WYES YouTube channel to see our program. And now, Del, so much to talk about. And actually, you're going to come back again soon in September. But you're from here. Your career certainly started out here at Channel 4. You went off to Chicago.
I did.
And, worked with people like Dan Rather and Charles Corral. But let's talk about those New Orleans years, and we have a few photos because, of course, you're a videographer, but you're a still photographer too.
Well, back in those days at WWL, UPI moved into the newsroom, and you were encouraged to take still photos because every time he would select one of your photos for the air, it was a $5 fee.
Oh, extra.
You make it $5 at the time, so that was a real encouragement.
Oh, well, the first photo we're going to show you is just amazing. Well, first of all, your book. We should point that out too. And it's kind of funny because we had Richard Campanella on last week, but a compilation, of course, of your career, which continues. The photojournalism of Del Hall, Richard Campanella, and this is LSU Press, isn't it? I believe.
Yes, it is.
And so a lot of the photos are in here, but most importantly, too, are the stories, your anecdotes relating to them. But there's some amazing ones. It was very hard to choose. But first up, Western Union office at St. Charles Hotel. Of course, that is where the Place St. Charles is. But you worked there, you said.
This was during high school.
This is during high school.
Yeah, and I love the details in this picture. There's an electric fan up in the top.
And of course, that was the Grand Hotel where Place St. Charles is today. But there were a lot of offices within the hotel itself.
Well,
like
they were,
Western Union.
but that office catered to the downtown area and all of the business offices.
Hence the telegrams.
Yeah, so we sat around till they said, "Okay, Hall," and they gave you a telegram. They
Go
sent
deliver
you here.
it.
Yeah.
Gee whiz.
But it was great because you got to know the city. I mean, you couldn't know. There's no better way to learn the city and all of the offices and the streets.
And something else gone, but what an incredible photo. The Cotton Exchange, no longer here. But you see that connection that people forget about, especially with cotton and New Orleans to Liverpool, because that's where the mills were in England, of course. But right before it closed, is this the early 60s?
This is the, yes, I have the date, but I don't
Oh, that's
remember.
okay.
But it was the last day. That was the last gavel, the last day of the last moment.
And we've also got Rex, amazing. This is almost like an aerial view of Rex. Do you remember, where were you?
Well,
I
was actually on top of WWL's truck.
Oh,
which I was really lucky to be so high.
Nice.
You would never get that shot if you were down in the crowd.
No, you certainly weren't. And then we've got an Earl Long photo because some of our history, unfortunately, is sort of infamous Earl Long. And this is a Jimmy Davis, inauguration?
That's Uncle Earl, and you can see how tight he is. His suspenders are kind of showing. His belt is kind of crooked, and his tie is up there. But he's actually toasting the crowd at Jimmy Davis's inauguration.
Now, Del, many of us, of course, remember with such fondness your very, very good friend, the sweetheart of a guy, Phil Johnson,
my
of
friend,
Channel
yes,
4.
absolutely.
And so a lot of, you all did a lot of documentaries.
We went everywhere together. It was the most fun in the world. I mean,
you went to Vietnam, you went to the Vatican?
To Rome, a couple of times to Rome. We went to...
But I know you all, were longtime friends. But from here, then you went off to Chicago, and you went on the road with Charles Corral.
Well, I was lucky enough to do that. It's one of the best jobs you could have, because nobody knew where he was, nobody cared where he was. He didn't care where he was. But he said, you know, give me a town. He said, you name any town. He said, well, I have a story there, and he could go to his file and pick up the story.
Well, gee, so much to talk about, and I know you're going to be coming back in September. We'll talk about that towards the end of our show, but more stories. But we're really glad you're here for Dell Hall Part 1. And this afternoon, we actually had a quartet from the Marine Forces Reserve Band. They visited our studios to talk about their upcoming patriotic concerts and to give us a special performance. Now, here's band leader, Chief Warrant Officer 2, Demarius Jackson, to give us a backstage look at the concerts. The Marine Forces Reserve Band, about 50 band members, but in all different sort of subsets too.
Definitely, definitely. So we, like I said, we have about 50 members, but within our large ensemble, we also have a variety of smaller ensembles. So that can be anything from a jazz band to a jazz combo. We have brass quintets, woodwind quintets, all composed of those 50 Marine musicians.
And you're busy around Mardi Gras, and you even bring in reinforcements sometimes,
too.
Definitely,
yeah. So every year,
a lot of parades.
Yeah, we have to, you know, there's a lot of parades, so we can't do it just with our 50 members by ourselves. So we fly in 2 other bands to help augment us to support the Marine Forces Reserve mission.
Well, let's talk all about July 4th. What's happening July 1st?
All right, so on July 1st, we're going to have a concert over at Trinity Episcopal Church. It starts at 3 o'clock. It will start off with the Marine Forces Reserve Jazz Band. We'll be playing for about an hour, and then after that, we actually have a small set. We have a combo that we'll be performing with Ellis Marsalis. And so we're very excited about that, yes. And we might even have his son, Delfeo, be able to sit in with us.
Quite the combo there.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Now, July 3rd, one of my favorites, because I'm always there.
Yes, ma'am, July 3rd. City Park, yes, at the Great Lawn. We have a concert. It will be starting at 7 o'clock. So that concert will start off with our brass band and lead into our concert band, which of course leads into those fireworks that everybody comes out to see at 9 o'clock.
As an audience member, I may say, get there early. Get there early so you can get a good seat, of course, too. Now, why don't we introduce the band?
Okay, of course. On the alto saxophone, we have Corporal Joey De La Garza. All right, and on the guitar, we have Lance Corporal Brendan Malay. On the drums, we have Sergeant Devon West. And on the bass guitar is Corporal Zachary Slaughter.
All right. And what are you all playing for us tonight?
All right, they're going to play a great American classic by Kathy Bates. This is America the Beautiful.
Very good. Take it away. Thank you all so much for being here. reminder that you can see the Marine Forces Reserve Band performing Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. at Trinity Church on Jackson Avenue, and that's a whole afternoon with the Uptown Jazz Orchestra, and we said, you know, Ellis Marcellus is going to be really amazing with the Marine Band. And then the Happy 3rd of July event at City Park's Gold Ring Waldorf Great Lawn. That's next Tuesday night. And now, Alan.
Well, what happens when you have an audience participate in a talkback with actors following a performance in which they're compelled to answer truthfully about questions about the play that they really either don't care for or don't understand completely? What happens when the feelings
sounds like Westworld,
yeah, well, kind of. Okay. What happens when the feelings of those performers sort of get in the way of that audience interaction and the talkback sort of goes south? Well, audience members who are going to be attending Talkback, this is the latest performance production by the NOLA Project, are you know, going to be participating sort of in their own way too, because they have pre-selected questions for some, but also some designated answers that they provide themselves. There's a world premiere that is written by Andrew Larimar and Chris Kamenstein of Goat in the Road, you remember. They essentially expose a group of performers who are clueless and really don't care about a play in which they're appearing in called Pandemonium, and it's an aptly titled play. It's also a close examination, though, of what goes on behind the scenes in a play. The cast is led by Nick Shackelford. Now, that name may ring a bell because Nick, of course, is with the Tennessee Williams Theater Company. He plays the director Dylan, and Ashley Record Santos, who hasn't been around for a little bit. She's been busy being a mother. She plays, who else? Ashley, of course. A duo who are more than just a director and an actress. Ashley Rose Bailey plays Maddie, who really has very little concept of what's going on in the play or what it has to say, but really wants to be able to say a lot of what she has on her mind. Veteran performer Linda is played by our very own First Lady of Theater, Janet Shea, who's about as jaded as they come, yet fabulous. Torrey Hayward plays Ben, who has his own ideas about what he would like to do in the show, and I'm not going to go any more than that. And Levi Hood plays Matt, who's a little more than beefcake than perhaps Brainiac in this one. The last member of the project there is T. She's played by the newest member of the NOLA Project, and that, of course, is Anna Tujas, who's the stage manager in this production. She brings home some final resolution to this that makes us all really appreciate the crazy and zany responses that had gone on earlier. This is directed by Bo Bratcher. The show runs about 70 minutes, and while I found it very funny at times, I don't really know that a lot of people who are not familiar with theater are really going to be able to understand or appreciate it as much, but I think if you are familiar with community theater, you'll find a lot to take home with it. It plays this weekend at the Lusher Lion Theater. That's on Nashville Avenue, and then next weekend it'll be at the newly opened George and Joyce Ween Jazz Festival venue that they have on Rampart Street, which is the former funeral home, if you remember there. There was a lot of me. Again, Talkback runs for the next 2 weekends until July the 8th. Meanwhile, speaking of the NOLA Project, they just announced that their 14th season is going to be on the boards coming up. The 13th season is just about over. So first off, I'm going to let everybody know, no musical this year coming up, but they do have some really interesting choices. Lauren Gunderson, who you don't know probably just by the name, but she is actually the most produced living playwright in America today. They'll see her play The Revolutionist, which will start things off in September. That's going to be at the Great Hall. Thankfully, again, at the New Orleans Museum of Art, they're going to have the Revolutionists there. It's set during the Revolutionary period in France, and this play features a number of women characters. And with the guillotine, I suspect these performances will be cutting edge. Next up is the return of the dark dystopian tale, The Pillow Man. Many of you may have remembered seeing that at Southern Rep a few years ago. It was written by Martin McDonough. It's going to play at Lusher School. And an immersive comedy comes up next. That's Adam Shibowicz's Stockholm Syndrome. This is going to be at the Little Gem Saloon, which you remember was the last time they had one, was Clown Bar, which was a lot of fun. And then finally, Michael Aaron Santos is painting an original work, and the world premiere will be next May at the Sydney and Walda Best Off garden that they have, the sculpture garden in City Park. It's called The Henchman, Shakespeare story, and this is basically an updating of A Midsummer Night's Dream, a story about Jacob, over whom Oberon and Titania quarreled.
Well, you have news about a new venue.
There is, and something completely different. Last week, Harrah's introduced that they're going to be in partnership with Live Nation, and others are going to be involved with them, including the sister venue at the House of Blues. It's soon to open. This is called Fillmore. Again, this is a new venue for what I would call medium-sized concerts and events on the second floor of what is now an empty Harrah's, but they're building it out, patterned after the legendary Fillmore and Fillmore East, that the concert halls that were run by the legendary Billy Graham. And that's not Billy Graham, of course, the minister. This is Bill Graham. They're going to offer much more than just music, according to Ben Sine, who's the president of Live Nation. There'll be a lounge with an homage to Louis Armstrong with historic Fillmore posters filling in the imagery there. The big concert hall will hold 2,200 people, and it'll be actually able to be shortened down into about 1,100 people, and it's going to be scaled back. They also have bars, a kitchen that will service everyone, and the entrance will be on Canal Street. So we're going to have a new theater on Canal Street with even vegetarian options in the kitchen.
Okay, Al, thank you so much. Alfred,
the force is strong over at the Sanger. The big screen here. Star Wars, A New Hope, the original, the first film. It's in concert with the LPO. Tickets are on sale now at the Sanger Theater for screenings on Friday, September 7th and Saturday, September 8th, 8 p.m., 2 p.m. Go see it. May the force be with you.
Helen.
So for icy cold frozen drinks, Menolito in the corridor just opened about a month ago. It's a Cuban restaurant and bar, and they make these amazing frozen daiquiris and all these other kind of very classic Cuban style drinks.
All right, sounds good. Del.
I'll be back in September to go to NOMA to see some of my photographs. I'm going to be in the exhibit at that time.
Looking forward to that. Thank you, Alan.
Just a reminder, John Neisler and Mel Cook will star as Macbeth and his lady next week in the New Orleans Shakespeare Festival's production. That's the opening play, of course, the Scottish play, Macbeth, and that'll be starting July the 6th to the 22nd.
Okay, great. My picks. National Geographic traveler, writer, and travel expert Costas Christ will be giving a free lecture titled How Sustainable Tourism is Transforming the Global Travel Industry and what that means for New Orleans. That's tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the Historic New Orleans Collections Williams Research Center. This is part of the HNOC's Jacob and Mary Meek Morrison Memorial Lecture Series. They were longtime quarter residents and preservationists. And a reminder that the film Cinema Twain, starring actor Val Kilmer in his one-man show as Mark Twain, is tomorrow night at the Joy Theater on Canal Street. Along with the film, he'll be there too, so that'll be a lot of fun too. Visit Joy's website for tickets. Thank you all so very much. Great to see you. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Good night.